Hello, I'm very much excited about the information that I'm about to share with you in this video. I'm making it in English because I want to share it with those who do not understand Malayalam also. This is about a possible reversal of diabetes without restricting the composition of our traditional diet. I was excited when I saw the results of Jason Fung and diet doctors' keto and low carb diets. But I asked myself, does keto improve our metabolism, especially glucose metabolism? It reverses all the diseases brought on by inflammation and diabetes because ketone bodies have powerful anti-inflammatory effect. But what if I enjoy a gulab jamun in between? I came across the research done at Salk Institute of Biological Studies in the USA, an elite research institute. This research was done by Dr. Satchidananda Panda or Satchin Panda, PhD, on the circadian rhythm and its link to the rising metabolic diseases in the last 50 years. I started this journey of trying to solve my health issues in 2018. I came across a lot of information and methods, but none so satisfying my logic as this one. So let us get into it. Our body, as does all living things, have embedded in it a circadian clock. The term circadian comes from the Latin phrase circa diem. I don't know if it is pronounced correctly, which means around a day. It is defined by National Cancer Institute as the natural cycle of physical, mental, and behavioral changes that the body goes through in a 24-hour circle. So the body goes through a 24-hour circle of physical, mental, and behavioral changes according to the circadian rhythm. And this rhythm is a natural rhythm in the body, and disrupting that will lead to circadian chaos, as the doctor calls it, and diseases. Circadian rhythms are mostly affected by light and darkness and are controlled by a small area in the middle of the brain. The various organs and the endocrine systems work as triggered by this circadian clock. So, our pancreas, our liver, and our digestive system, everything works according to the circadian clock. In the morning, we wake up and see light. The light enters through our eyes, and even in the blind, it activates certain nerves, and this is the signal of the brain to switch from sleep to the activities of the day. This switching happens through the cycling of two hormones, melatonin and cortisol. Darkness triggers the body to make more melatonin, which signals the body to sleep. Our organs, like the pancreas, also dims its activity. The liver is in its night mood. Light decreases melatonin production and signals the body to be awake. The hormone that sustains daytime wakefulness is cortisol. Cortisol is also subject to a circadian rhythm and subject to a 24-hour pattern, being highest after waking and lowest during sleep at night. So our body is set to a clock called the circadian clock, and it is triggered by light entering our eyes. In the ancient days, man had no artificial light except a fire, which he would probably put down at night. And when he woke up, the sunlight would trigger the circadian clock to release cortisol. And during night, they would have some firelight for some time, and at night, then the fire would go off, and even the firelight would be dim, and their melatonin would rise, and they would all fall asleep. That used to be the way. But nowadays, it is all different, and people keep awake for a long time. They are attached to the devices, electronic devices, and the light keeps entering their eyes, and so the circadian clock gets disrupted because eating is also not in a sort of a set path. So, and the person enters into what the doctor calls circadian chaos. So, irregularity in meals, such as eating at inconsistent times, skipping meals, the frequency of meals, the number of meals, that is, and timing when you eat, all influence your circadian clock and metabolism. For good physical and mental well-being, circadian coordination is essential, and disturbance of circadian activity is correlated with various downstream negative physiological, psychological, and clinical implications. So we have to eat at consistent times, and frequency should be, the number of meals should be maintained, and timing when you eat should also be maintained. So once in a while, say through social pressures, we may have to disrupt our circadian timetable. We may eat early or late for attending a wedding, or we may miss a meal. All these things once a week or twice a week may not disrupt things too much, but we should adhere to these things as much as possible. We should be regular in meals. The frequency should be the same, timing should be the same most of the time, as these influence our circadian clock, and that in turn influences our metabolism. Traditionally, our lives, sleeping, waking up, and eating, were all in harmony with our body clock. The circadian chaos of our present eating habits cause much of our metabolic diseases, as the metabolism is very much connected to our circadian rhythm. How can we optimize or harmonize our lifestyle with the circadian rhythm? Three aspects have to be considered mainly for this. One is eating, second is sleeping, and three is exercise. Circadian rhythm, according to Dr. Panda, is intimately related to blood glucose and cholesterol, which are the two important subjects for me. Controlling my blood glucose. Eating as soon as you get up is a bad idea, according to Dr. Panda. He has done considerable research on this, and this research report has come some time back, and his book has come, and his discussions have come 1 year back. I have somehow missed it, and nobody has given it wide publicity. And they are all talking about circadian rhythm, but not according to what Dr. Panda has been, the person who has researched on the subject, has disclosed. Eating as soon as you get up is a bad idea. The body takes some time to switch from sleep-induced melatonin to cortisol and to a totally awakened body. First thing in the morning, the pancreas is not prepared to produce intestinal glucose-triggered insulin. If glucose goes in, it triggers insulin. That pancreas is not ready for that because it is still under the influence of melatonin. Therefore, blood sugar will go up. I have all 1 teaspoon of sugar is what is present in the entire blood of a normal individual. A coffee or tea with milk, even if sugar is not added, can also spike blood glucose in the early morning as soon as you get up, because the sugars in milk will not be processed by the insulin in the, as pancreas is not prepared. So Dr. Panda suggests that one should have the first intake of any food with calorie value or carbohydrate only after 1 or 2 hours ideally of waking up. A cup of black tea or coffee without sugar is okay if you do not have acid reflux. If you have acid reflux, and coffee or tea on empty stomach is not a good idea according to him. I have also wondered, first thing in the morning, I used to take a cup of diabetic Horlicks, warm and hot and sweet and nice with the artificial sugar. It has carbohydrate and it always spiked my sugar. So I doubted their claim that it leads to decline in blood sugars. But now I understand that this happened because I used to drink it first thing in the morning. We should wait 1 or 2 hours to take some food. Meanwhile, you can have water or black coffee and go for a walk and come back. What should be done first thing in the morning is to go out in the sun and expose yourself to light. This will enhance the waking cycle and also set the body for sleeping cycle. This will trigger the waking cycle because the sunlight is what triggers the circadian rhythm waking cycle. And once you wake up with the sunlight, it will also give the message that after a certain number of hours, you will be ready for sleep. The pancreas is active from 2 hours of waking to 7 and to 8 hours of waking. And at this time, you will find that you have a much better response to carbohydrates. So 7 to 8 hours. So plan to eat your biggest meal in the first half of the day. Our digestive system and pancreas are much better equipped to handle food at this time. At the end of the from 2 hours of waking to 8 hours of waking is the ideal time to have a heavy meal. If 3 hours of meal, the midday meal can be the heaviest meal of your day without spiking sugar. I have experienced all of this. I have a lunch with rice and lots of vegetable, and then I have an ice cream, but still my blood glucose will be uh, below 150. Before I did this, Dr. Panda's suggestions, before I implemented it. And after implementing it, I had a nice juice with passion fruit juice with lots of sugar, then a lunch, then an ice cream, and my PPBS was 130. That after 3 days of implementing Dr. Panda's suggestion. At the end of the day, now, at the end of the day, our body begins to produce melatonin 2 to 3 hours before our bedtime. How does our body know our bedtime? Because we are following a pattern. We are consistent in our waking and sleeping habits most of the time, at least 5 days in a week. And we expose ourselves to light, either sunlight directly or just open your eyes and look at the outside sun or switch on very bright lights, and the body begins to produce melatonin, reduce its melatonin, and it happens earlier. It will start producing cortisol. That also happens earlier, slightly. Slowly, they all rise, and when waking time, they rise fast. The cortisol rises faster. So our body begins to produce melatonin 2 to 3 hours before our bedtime. How does it know our bedtime? I've already told you. Because we are consistent, and when we wake up, we look at the light and we set the body clock. So it is better to have your last meal 2 to 3 hours before your bedtime, because at that time melatonin production has already started, and before it rises too much, you should have your bedtime. Your last meal of the day. In case you intend to go to bed by 10 p.m., ensure that you have your last meal by 8 p.m. at least. Not a long meal sustained from 8 to 9. Better to start before 8 and end at 8. The body starts producing melatonin and it inhibits pancreatic function and insulin release. I have always wondered why the same food which I ate at noon spikes my blood glucose no end if I eat it in the evening after 6 o'clock. My body thinks that I am going to sleep at 8 o'clock. I go and I never sleep at 8 o'clock. I sleep at 11. But after 6 o'clock, whatever I eat will spike my blood glucose. One important thing, be consistent in your feeding and sleeping habits. Once we follow a consistent pattern, the body also recognizes it and prepares accordingly. Whatever you eat, whether you lose weight or not, following the circadian eating and sleeping pattern will definitely improve your metabolic health. So if you eat healthy and you lose weight, it will definitely improve. But if you follow this pattern, even if you don't lose weight, there will be improvement in your metabolic health. There will be improvement in your glucose and your cholesterol. Try it. You will find that it works. You will start conquering your metabolic imbalance. And I have this pattern of eating your first meal after 8 a.m. and last meal before 8 p.m. will ensure a 12-hour fast between meals. That is the way to start. You have to extend your fast. Or we start doing a time-restricted eating pattern by eating last meal at 8 and the first meal at 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. A 12-hour fasting is there, and then we are restricting our eating window from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So that is known as time-restricted eating. So this time-restricted eating has a lot of benefits, and the benefits of the eating and extending the fasting time, I will discuss later. What about exercise? What if you are a shift worker? These two we will have to discuss later. I am waiting for Dr. Panda's book, which I have ordered on Amazon, to arrive. Meanwhile, I will give the link to Dr. Panda's discussion with Dr. Chatterjee on this subject, which is very informative, but it is also very long, over 2 hours. If you can, you please listen to that. It will give you a lot of information and a lot of insight, and you will become an addict to time restricted eating and to consistent habits. Now, the last word is that I joined Habled, that is the yoga team, online team that I have. Uh, the course of that yoga online team, Habled, Habuild, habit building, that I had shared in my link in one of the videos earlier about exercising without equipment. I joined the 1 year paid program after the 21 days of uh, free course. The 21-day free course assured me that I will be able to do this. It is adapted to those with less mobility, less stamina. There are two, as I have told earlier, there are two sets of exercises and asanas and pranayama being performed. One by Mr. You know, Botra, which is for people like us, and one by Chotu, which is for active people. And you can choose whichever is suitable for you. And it is very good. And you are taught to build one habit at a time. And the habit that we first had to build was to do yoga every single day. And I am consistent in not only doing yoga, but also in following at the same time. There is flexible timing, 3 slots in the morning and 3 slots in the evening, and you can choose whichever you want, whenever you want. You can switch between the shifts, and also you can choose, you do 2 sets on the same day. Everybody in the family can join in, not individually, through that one link given to you, or whoever pays it. So it is very, very cheap and very, very good. According to me, it is a good service to all of us. And another thing, now the second habit that we are building, asking us to build, is to go to bed quite as early as possible, at least by 10 or 11, or according to whatever time you were going before, a little before that, and how to go to sleep early, good sleeping habits, and how to sleep early. All these things will build our health and our mental well-being. So if you want to join the course, wait till June. In June, probably there will be another free online yoga challenge, which you can join and see if it is suitable for you, if it suits your present state, timing, etc., etc. If it suits, you can join from the end of that yoga challenge. So that is all I have to say. Thank you. Share this as much as possible. I am doing this time restricted eating, and from 8 to 5 is what is the time I'm choosing. The last meal you can eat more fats and more protein, because the body's pancreas is going low, insulin will go low after some time, and fat and protein will sustain you, and it will not see that you don't become very hungry. So remember to add some fat and to some protein to your last meal. That is what I understood. So